So let me ask you a question. So when we talk about perceptions, like we talk about awareness, awareness really is just a perception, right?
Hmm.
And would you, what I've come to see is that a perception is really just a belief system that we've um, fostered about ourselves, either from the people around us. We can either create a perception about ourselves based on what somebody else thinks of us, or what we've chosen to listen to our inner self and our inner being about. So either we're coming from a place of trust and knowing what our inner being is saying, or we've chosen to believe what somebody else is saying about us. So when it comes to a perception, what I've come to see is that our perceptions will influence our beliefs, right? And
100%.
what I've heard a lot of masters say is, like I've heard Abraham say a lot of times, um, a a belief is just a thought we keep thinking. So if we keep thinking it over and over and over again, it's going to become a truth. But that
Hmm.
means everyone's living their own truth. So if somebody says, I believe I'm the best mother in the world, and they absolutely believe it, then that's going to be their truth. And they're going to live a very happy life. And then someone who's not living that life is going to say, why are you so happy all the time? And then they're going to say, just because I choose to be, and that's my perception. So it doesn't have to be that people always, when they get into a good, have you ever seen people get into a good situation and then they wait for for the ball to drop, right?
Yep. Yep.
So um, so when people are in that place, I tell them to keep going with it. You know, keep affirming that things get better and better for you. So what do you think about affirmations? What's your take on affirmations?
Affirmations are amazing. And when implemented, they make a huge difference in shifting your beliefs. So when you create an affirmation and you use it, you are stepping into this is the belief I want, or this is who I want to be. So you always want to frame your affirmations as I am, not I want to be. Because if you say I want to be or I want, you're
Mhm,
saying I'm going to eventually, but you're never going to get there because you're always
mhm,
going to be an I want to be that. But if you say I am, then you're internalizing and starting to put into your subconscious mind, I am this. So I am a loving mom. I am confident. I speak my truth. I am maybe whatever you want to be, like I am a doctor, whatever it is that you want to affirm to yourself, to have that belief. And when you have an affirmation, you want to be affirming to yourself all throughout the day. That's part of constantly spaced repetition that is so important. That when you have that affirmation all throughout the day, that you are saying those affirmations to yourself so that they can go into your subconscious mind.
mhm. You know, I think it's so words are so powerful and thoughts are so powerful. Have you ever come upon someone where I'll catch people saying this all the time? They'll say, like someone will say to them, "Oh, this person makes $30 million a week," and then they go, "That's unbelievable." And then
Mm-hmm.
I go, "Well, that's the reason why you're not doing it because you can't believe it. There really is no limitation to the universe. It's an infinitely abundant universe." So, um, so when you, in your experience, what do you like to do to help somebody when they don't even know that their thinking process is off?
By guiding questions kind of get to the bottom of what do you want? Because that's always a good place to start. What do you actually want? Not what do you believe that you can have or what do you think you're worthy of? But if there were no limitations, if anything was possible and you didn't have to worry about anything, time, money, resources, possibilities, right? What do you want? And I start getting people thinking in that mindset because that starts opening you up to what it is you truly desire. And then
Hmm.
once you get to that, then it's okay, well, now why do you think you can't have that? And then from there, we can get to the limiting beliefs,
Hmm.
whether it's a fear, whether it's a story that you grew up with, a paradigm that your family believed that you've carried on, um, a lack of confidence, whatever that limit is. So that's where I like to start
Hmm.
to pull that out.
That's awesome. Um, So one of the most powerful things I think I heard, I mean, I've heard so many people say it, but when there really is this thing that we desire, a lot of times we can get caught up in the details. How is it going to happen?
Mhm.
When is it going to happen? Who's going to bring it to me? Tell me the exact time, especially when people are looking for relationships. I want to find the right person. All my friends around me are getting married. All my friends around me are this. When am I going to meet the person? When? And I help them to first rephrase it. I say, you know what? Instead of asking when, because the ego brain doesn't have the answer, your heart does. But if you can surrender that and you can focus on the why is it
Mhm.
that you want the relationship? Why is it that you want the job or the money or the family? Why? When you have a strong enough why, then the universe fills in the how. But when we
Mhm.
don't surrender and allow our higher self, the universe, to actually bring it to us, and we stay in that level of when is it going to happen? What do I have to do to get this to happen? Then we're literally forcing matter upon matter, and it's exhausting. So,
Mhm.
um, what do you think? I mean, when you want to try and influence something and you want to use your energy, to use energy to influence matter, what are the things you like to do to help you manifest faster?
Mhm. Okay, so I want to back up real quick to what you were talking about there, about not worrying about the how. Oh my gosh, that's so important. And I have always been a planner. And I think
Mm-hmm.
you know too. It comes from my family. That was a paradigm that I had, that you have to plan and be prepared for everything. You have to know what's going to happen in the steps, and you can't do until you are prepared. And what I've learned, as you just said, is that's exactly the opposite. That is a limiting belief. And I just wrote about this in our Facebook group recently. When you let go of that and just get really clear on what you want, let the rest go. And that's the fun part. The universe is going to figure it out for you. So you don't have to do all that hard part. All you have to do is get clear, put it out to the universe what you want, and then let the universe bring to you the tools, the people, the intuitive hits that you need. And then it is your responsibility to act on those intuitive hits and to take the help that comes to you. But it is so relieving to know that you don't even have to have a plan. Just go. The roadmap is going to come to you as you need it in
Mm-hmm.
divine timing. And
Yes.
Price Pritchett actually has a book on this. It's a phenomenal read called U Squared. It is such a quick read. It's a little book. I read it in a matter of hours, but it's really good to talk about this topic if you want more on this. But it's called a quantum leap. When you go,
Mm-hmm.
when you go from here, from like A to D,
Mm-hmm.
people think you have to have little steps along the way, and you don't. You can skip all of those. But anyway, so that's a great book. But what I do, and in answer to your original question, I have a process, which basically is kind of what I described. I first visualize what it is that I really want, and I get super clear. Again, clarity is really important, because if you put something out to the universe is going to say yes. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
not clear, the universe might misinterpret what you want, and the universe is just going to get it to you, in whatever clarity you give. So I had a friend who was manifesting $5,000, and she just said, I want $5,000. So she ended up getting into a car accident. And while she was fine, her car was totaled. So she got $5,000 from her insurance company, but she totaled her car.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
getting super clear is really important. And then I write it down on a goal card. Write down what my goal is also, so that I have it and I can carry it with me all the time, everywhere that I go. And I even keep them in places that I am often. So like my office, I keep it in my car, in my bathroom, in my kitchen. And I know it seems a little crazy, but then you have it everywhere you go. And when you're
Yes.
constantly thinking about it, it's always on your mind. And when it's
Yes.
always on your mind, you're living there already. So
Absolutely.
having clarity, writing it down, visualizing it, um, just taking the intuitive hits when they come. And what's really important is just letting it be. Living in a state of ease and flow is really important as well. Just letting things go, not worrying about resisting, and then it comes. And just living from that end result is also really important.
Yes,
What about
absolutely.
you? What's your
That, that
process?
from what you just said, actually, Neville Goddard is one of my favorite authors, and one of the most valuable lessons I ever learned from his teachings is coming from the end in mind. And it seems it's so simple, but sometimes it's so hard when we think we're faced with something stressful, and the ego brain is so focused on the stress now, and it can't get out of that loop. It's actually in the past, focusing on the stress that happened already. Whereas Neville Goddard says, when we go from the end in mind, that means we're going into the future. And then we're seeing the solution. We're seeing and feeling and experiencing it as though it's already happened. And then that's where we activate the true power of who we really are as humans. People don't realize how powerful we really are. And when we truly have that vision of where we're going in the future, and we're eliciting a response with it and a feeling and emotion behind it, when we go to the end in mind. So when someone says, I'm having a hard time getting pregnant. Okay, well, I have them visualize themselves holding the baby, feeling what it feels like to be pregnant. And they do that. And then 3 weeks later, they say they're pregnant. I said, there's no mystery. By going to the end in mind, you stop stressing out. When you're not stressing out, you're not releasing cortisol and adrenaline and all these other stress hormones that actually make it very hard for you to get pregnant. Because during that time of stress, the body doesn't want to get pregnant. It wants to protect you and stay in that state of crisis. So when we go from the end in mind, we're already assuming the outcome, and we're already assuming everything is fine, which is a huge place to exist from. Imagine if people lived every day of their life knowing that everything was going to be fine. Imagine how much different their life would be. That simple thing, instead of waking up and getting back into the same rut. It's such a subconscious, habitual rut of just thinking that things are not going to go their way. So from what you said, coming from the end in mind is the thing that I try to live my life by with every single thing I'm doing. So I think that is the hugest thing that anyone could do. And then to answer your question, the things that I do is I like what you said about writing it down. One of my favorite books was it was called It Works. That was the name of the book, by R.H.J. And it was literally 7 pages. That's all the book was. And it was literally written to say, if you write down what you desire and you read it every day with a feeling as though you already have it, it'll come to you. And it really does work. So that's one of my favorite practices that I live my life by.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, what are some of your what are some of your biggest challenges that you've used this technology or this process to overcome?
Well, big one is career shift. So I was in a rut, and I think a lot of people start feeling stuck. We have this societal story that we have to, you go to school, and then you have to go to college, and you have to have it all figured out, and then you have to go get a job that you probably don't like, and then, that's your life. So I was stuck in that story. And when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I honestly wanted to go move with, at the time, my boyfriend, now my husband, but I wanted to go live with him and figure out my life and just be happy. But I was told, no, you either get a job or you go to college. So I went to college to be a teacher, which is what my mom did. And it was just, I know how to do this. I know I can be successful at it. And I really do want to help people. So I went to school, got a job right out of college, and have been teaching for the past 8 years. And while I love the idea of it. I love helping children. I love working with people. I love making their lives better. Teaching has become very removed from the purpose for anyone in education. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah.
But it's become very mechanical, and it's more about the politics and the data collection. And there's really not a lot of time to work on teaching kids and helping kids in the way that they need. So I have gotten to a point where I felt very stuck, and I felt like my life was mechanical, and I didn't know what my passion was. And then I found this material that we are teaching and that our business is focusing on. And that's when my world opened up. And it was really scary, the idea of transitioning, because this is what I knew. I knew how to teach. I've been doing it for years. I have a salary, I have benefits, I have a family to take care of. But making the transition and having the faith that it's going to work and I'm going to be successful, and I'm going to have way more than I even had. And I'm going to help millions of people that I wouldn't have been able to help had I stuck with the mode I was in. And even through this platform, I'm able to help children in a totally different way by helping them with mindset rather than just trying to teach them curriculum that they don't even need, most of it. So that's been huge for me, is that shift. And it was scary, but it was the best thing that I've ever done. So
Absolutely.
what about you?
Well, the same thing. I remember when I first started out, I was working in the city at a job that I absolutely despised, and I knew my passion was to be a doctor and to help people, and I was actually afraid to go back to school, and I was selling yellow page advertisements, walking door to door in New York City, and hating every moment of it, but too afraid to go back and actually do the work, another 4 years of school and everything. But it's like you're saying, what really pushed me, I remember every day I'd be on the subway going to my office, and just hating my life, wishing I was somewhere else. And what was interesting enough is what I found is when we're in that mode, we're really sending out prayer requests to the universe. And the universe gives you so many signs. And I just was so closed-minded to see the signs I was getting that it took somebody writing me a letter that I went to undergrad with, saying, "Thank you for inspiring me. Because of you, I'm going to school to be a doctor as well." And I read that letter and I said, "I can't believe it. I feel like my life is going nowhere." And the universe just sent me this letter. And at that moment, I quit my job and I left for school and did it. But it took me suffering for 3 years before I finally actually listened to what my higher self was trying to tell me. And it's like you're saying, when you actually go for it, you realize, oh my gosh, the fear was just an illusion. There was nothing scary about it at all. And I was supported the whole time. The universe always supports us. And like you're saying, my life is a million times better than it was before. If I would have stayed in that position, that's where disease and illness shows up. So, so that was the biggest thing for me. And just like you, that's where I try to teach people this material, because far too often people stay in the same place their whole life, yet wishing they were somewhere else. And that is the fastest way I've seen for a cancer to show up. The fastest way is to have that inner regret, those inner hurts, those inner wishes that we were somewhere else, but living a life that of resentment. So, that's what I try to teach people, is to get out of that state, get into that place of trusting, and then you're going to see the miracle show up in your life.
It is so true. People don't realize, but we are, this process of manifesting all the time. So if you hold on to any of that negative energy or negative thoughts or feelings, and you don't acknowledge it and bless it and release it, then it goes somewhere and it goes inside of you. And then it manifests as, such as you said, cancer or arthritis or even a headache or, allergies, anything. And the degree of how negative it is and how long you hold on to it is going to build up. And that's going to determine, is it chronic Or is it something that comes, you can heal it and let go of it, or it recurs? So that is such an important point that you brought up there. And also going back to what you were saying about fear, I've learned that fear and excitement are actually the same vibration.
Mhm.
And at first I was like, really? When I first heard that. And then I started thinking about it. And fear and excitement have the same reactions in your body. So, maybe your palms get sweaty. Maybe your heart starts to beat faster. Maybe you get a little bit jumpy. When you're excited, you can't sit still, right? You want
Mhm.
to get up and move. And when you're fearful, oftentimes people have that same energy, that same pent up, energy. They can't sit still, and they have those same feelings. So fear and excitement are the same vibration. We're just applying different feelings to them. And fear, fear was designed to help us stay away from danger.
Mhm.
Because originally, we had to survive, right? Way back in the beginning of the start of the world. So we no longer need that instinct in the way we did. Of course, we still need to be fearful of things that can cause us harm, but we have started to apply fear to things that do not cause us harm. So, like, I was afraid to move out of a job and move into a different one. Why? I was not going to die by switching careers. It was actually the best thing I ever did, right? So we apply fear to things that are not fearful. So if we just flip that, what I've started to do is when I start feeling fear, I flip it and say, well, what if this was excitement? Because that's really what it is. And that
Mhm.
totally changes everything when you look at it from that new perspective. Then it's not so scary at all.